Hello everybody, Maven here, and today we're going to be experimenting with a buff that kind of went under the radar. This was something that Bungie announced about 3 months ago, but Pellet shotguns got a 15% damage buff in PvE, but nobody really talked about this because nobody really cares about Pellet shotguns anyway. But we're going to see if you should be using Pellet shotguns over Slug shotguns, because most likely if you're using a shotgun in PvE, it's a Slug like the Philo or the Heritage, and if not, it's something with 1-2 punch. But just generally, should you use Pellets over Slugs? We're going to find that out. We're going to do some damage testing against the Templar boss from the Vault of Glass raid and see which archetype comes out on top. Alright, so as for the weapons we're using in this video, we're not using crazy cracked DPS damage rolls like Vertissimo and Philo and stuff like that. We're testing out just pure base numbers. No damage perks, no boss spec, nothing like that. Just the base damage of each archetype. And we're going to be doing all of our damage testing in a Lunafaction well because it was impossible to survive otherwise. So our slug of choice is going to be the Heritage, our aggressive frame of choice is going to be the Mindbenders, precision frame is going to be the Fractithist, lightweight frame is the Xenoclast, rapid fire frame is the Deicide, and of course we're going to be testing out the Lord of Wolves. And for those who have been living under a rock, the big reason we're testing Lord of Wolves in this video is because it got a massive buff recently. When Release the Wolves is active, you do plus 40% damage and you have full auto. The thing's a beast. So with that, let's get to it. Hope you enjoy. So we're starting off the video with Slug shotguns for the Pellets to compare to. We're starting off with 408,000 damage when we're hitting precision hits. Now we're also going to do body shot hits as well, because in general play, you're not always going to hit all your crits with your shotguns. So we're testing both of them. And for the body shot damage for Slugs comes in at 235,000 damage. It's pretty expected that this number will be low because Slugs are meant for crits, obviously. So with that, let's go on to Pellets. So we're kicking off the Pellets with the high impact aggressive frames coming in at 344,000 damage, about 64,000 off of the Slugs damage, so it's not the best in the world. And on to the body shot damage. Now you may have noticed that we accidentally hit a few stray crits, and that's going to happen in general play with Pellets. You're not going to hit full-on body shots. Some Pellets will hit the head on accident more often than not, so it's realistic. And the damage comes in at 326,000, which is only 20k less than when we actually aim for the crit. So the modifier for crits on Pellet shotguns are far lesser than that of Slugs. With Slugs, it was like almost double damage, but for Pellets, it really didn't make that much of a difference hitting body versus crit. And next up is precision frames. This kind of blew my mind, but it did 380k, which is about 40k more than the aggressive frames. I did not expect that in the slightest, because this is probably the least used weapon archetype in all of PvE. And now onto the body shot damage, and this is kind of interesting. We're kind of learning something here, because the body shot damage for precision frames actually hit less body shot damage than the aggressive frames. But however, the precision damage of the precision frames hit way more than the aggressive frames. So I think that this archetype is meant to hit precision hits, hence it being called precision frames. Therefore, the body shot damage did less. And now on to lightweight frames, the most popular frame of pellet shotgun in PvE, mostly used for 1-2 punch by the way, but it did hit almost as much as Slugs when we're aiming for the crit. Slugs hit 408,000, and if you notice there in that damage phase, it was a little wonky, and I maybe could have slipped in one more shot, and if I did, we would have actually beat out Slug shotguns that are even meant for precision. So this is kind of ridiculous. This is the reason why the lightweights are so popular. And on to the body shot damage. Just the body shot damage alone of the lightweights beat out the crit damage of the aggressive frames. So the damage on these lightweights is actually really impressive. Onto the rapid fire frames. Surprisingly, it did just beat out the aggressive frame by a hair, but it's still not that great now that we've seen what precision frames and lightweight frames can do. To the body shot damage, it's actually very close to the precision damage. It's only 7,000 off, and the 344k here matched that of the crits of the aggressive frames. So aggressive frames are clearly worse. However, it's not that great still, knowing what precision frames and lightweight frames do after our testing. And on to Lord of Wolves. And if you've been watching any PvE content creators recently talking about this crazy, insane Lord of Wolves buff, and you've been questioning for yourself whether or not you should use Lord of Wolves, I think this should give you your answer. It is absolutely ridiculous, the DPS that this thing does. The ammo economy does suck, but the burst damage is through the roof. By far beats out every other shotgun archetype in this video. And on to the body shot damage, and as you can see, it still blows every other shotgun out of the water, even though it hit all to the body. Now, just for funsies, off camera, what I did is I tested out that crazy god roll for TC mode that I showed briefly earlier in the video, and it has 4th times a charm, it has Vorpal, it has boss spec, and I hit all crits with it, and still it didn't beat out the body shot damage of the Lord of Wolves. This thing is absolutely ridiculous. Alright, so on to the wrap up and the overview. I think that we can confirm that Slug shotguns will probably have the best total damage output if you're planning on hitting every single crit in like a boss damage phase, or if you're using it in a Grandmaster and you're stunning a champ so that they're still, and you know for sure that you're going to hit a crit on every single shot, you might get more bang for your buck out of a Slug. But in general play, and if you're speed running around super fast through quick activities and you might miss some crits, you probably might want to use a pellet shotgun. I think that I can say that with confidence now. But if you did have an exotic slot to spare, I think we can easily confirm that the Lord of Wolves by far wins for burst damage, and also its overall damage is not that bad, because it hit like almost 700,000 if we were to use all of the reserves on the crit. And you know, with these other pellet shotguns, you know, during the entire damage phase, we nearly ran out of ammo. So they would only hit like a maximum of maybe 500,000, and that's being generous. You know, this thing hit nearly 700,000. So Lord of Wolves is actually insane right now. And people give this thing a bad rep for its ammo economy, but it's honestly not that bad. The scavengers are decently generous, and this thing reloads very fast, even despite it having extended mag. And if you are still iffy on the ammo economy of this thing, just think of it this way. Think of it as Izanagi's shotgun. because you basically only have like 4 full clips of this thing, but each of those clips do insanely high burst damage to like a champion or a boss or whatever's in front of you. And Izanagi is kind of the same way, where you're going to reload all 4 of those bullets into one shot. That's kind of what like full auto release the wolves is like. So think of it as Izanagi shotgun, and you'll probably have a much better idea of this thing. And if you were going to use a slug for general play, it is 9 times out of 10 going to be the Heritage with Reconstruction, Recombination, because again, it's basically Izanagi shotgun. When you have that recombination times 10, this thing basically doubles its damage on your first shot, making it really good for burst damage when you run into majors. That is why I use this thing very often, and I've been using it pretty much every day since I got it a year ago. However, now after our testing today, I think I'm gonna start to put slug shotguns down, and I'm going to pick up using lightweights more often. This is my baby right here, my Xena class, my God Roll Xena class. I love this thing to death, and the one perk of pellet shotguns over Lord of Wolves is that you can actually get perks on it, like 1-2 punch and trench barrel, and that is why I would justify using lightweights over Lord of Wolves, because 1-2 punch is just too powerful. Trench barrel is so strong. If you can get one of these or any other lightweight with auto loading 1-2 or auto loading trench, that is going to be one of your best shotgun options right now. All right, so wrap up to our wrap up. Use Lord of Wolves. If you can't spare the exotic slot, use a lightweight with 1-2 punch. There we go. That is the video in a nutshell. So that's going to do it for the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to hit that like button and leave a comment down below. Those 2 actions really help the algorithm and the video's performance. And if you are new and you enjoy Destiny 2 PvE and PvP weapon testing and builds, then you come to the right place, because we do that all the time here. So consider dropping a sub. And with that, I'll catch you in the next video. Peace out.